Yo, what up, what up? Thanks for tuning back in with us here at the Way Too Much podcast with my boy Pink and with JRMC. That's me. It's been a couple weeks. We're trying to get back in here to talk about some important stuff with y'all. Today we're going to talk a little about this most recent Charles Booker political ad in his race against Rand Paul, and then we're going to dive into the school shootings that just occurred. Was it? How do you say it? Is it Uvalde or Uvalde or Uvalde? I think. First of all, let's go ahead and preface this and say it's a terrible situation, and you got a whole litter of kids. I got a whole litter of kids, probably like 10 kids between the two of us.
Sure.
Never a good situation when any kid, any child loses their life. So
for sure.
Anything we're saying,
with all the
anything either of us saying, like we are not diminishing how terrible it is for that any of this stuff happen.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so no disrespect or anything like that, but I just want to make sure everybody knows we got kids. We obviously love kids, and so we are not trying to talk any bad type of way about any of that stuff. And then on the top of the Charles Booker, I'm just interested to see how you feel about that most recent political ad and all that good stuff. So yes, a lot of stuff's happened since last time we talked.
Right.
So I guess let's jump right into that, Pink. So whenever you watch this most recent Charles Booker ad, and for those of y'all that ain't seen it, I see my man comes on and you might be able to explain it a little better than me, but as far as for the first visual effect, he pops up with a noose around his neck.
It's like halfway through, though.
It's about halfway through.
It's about halfway through.
It's about all I can see at this point whenever I think about it.
See, I'll go ahead and jump right into it. For me, I think that's where he lost some people, not because the point he was making wasn't correct, but because the visual was so strong. That's all people are going to ever remember is that it was just a black man in a suit in 2021 with a noose around his neck. Instead of getting the message across, you've ingrained an image into people's minds who, if they didn't agree with you or like you before, they definitely don't like you now, because they're now going to assume that you think everyone who's white thinks that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
First off. Second off, a lot of people, I think, are jumping to misjudgment on it, because I do personally think that there was some artistic expression behind it, and a point to be made that he's breaking through a wall that hadn't been broken through, and the lifting of the noose off of his neck was like a symbolism of rising to a new thing and a new beginning. And I hope that's what it was. I don't talk to him, obviously, but
And I think we need to try to get him on here.
I agree. And I think I haven't seen anything where he's had to defend himself about it or talked about it or anything. But I think if it wasn't that, then people should know. But I don't know how it could be anything other than that, to be honest. But I would like to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, for me, it's my first thought is for Charles.
Can hear you.
I had myself muted. My first thought, if I'm Charles Booker, I'm thinking in the state of Kentucky, you're gonna need a whole bunch of white people to vote for you to win.
Sure.
Right.
100%.
And I think about myself, and I'm I feel like I am partial to keep my mind open and listen to people's views, whatever. And the first thing I saw when I saw it was dude, talk about some hyperbole. You know what I mean? It's going to the next level. To me, it was trying to get a rise out of people, and I feel like it was setting a bar for a very unsustainable, this maybe possibility that it's if I don't win this, it's because Kentucky's saying that they want to be hanging black people from trees again.
That part I disagree with.
And but from the people, from like the other white people I've spoken with, like that has been their response as well, because it was about that. It was first and foremost referencing that anti-lynching bill,
right,
or whatever, and like how he voted against it, but it was because there was a couple things he wanted changed in it or whatever, and so and once they changed it, he was like a co-sponsor of it, so his name was actually on it whenever they passed it, and like, so I think it sets the tone that like if you don't vote for me in this election, that you want to put black people back in nooses, that a vote for Rand Paul is basically that, and I think that brings me to my second point is I feel like there probably would have been people he could have ran against and it would have been maybe effective, but I do think there's times where maybe even good people are running and they're just like it sucks for them because they're just the race or whatever isn't. It wasn't the right time or whatever. I just feel like Rand Paul's the wrong person to attack on that because Rand Paul's one of the few people that is fighting for individual liberties and like just. So I got a couple things I put out here. So, like for Rand Paul, he was the primary sponsor of the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act that would have banned no-knock warrants nationwide. Primary sponsor. Like first and foremost, he's been screaming about this stuff for years, wanting to get rid of all those things. He like. Is always like adamantly demanding law enforcement needs to like cease illegal searches and seizures and wants to end like asset forfeiture practices. That's called like the FAIR Act is what he's put forward. They said that all property owners should be innocent until proven guilty. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You go to these like poor neighborhoods, let's say the west end of Louisville or southeast Kentucky or wherever, and like you got a large percentage of the population that can't even qualify for a bank account or whatever. So they're having to go get their checks cashed at 7-Eleven or whatever. So that you get pulled over on the south side of Middlesboro or whatever, you know what I'm saying, because the tail light's out or something, and you got picked up for marijuana possession 3 years ago. So now they think they have cause to search you. And they find a $600 wad of money in your pocket. If they suspect that's from criminal activity, they will take that money from you, and you will never get it back. And like Rand Paul wants to absolutely stop those practices, and like that's something people don't even think about. He also wants to demilitarize police, change felony classifications of like most low-level offenses, including misdemeanor like drug possession and other nonviolent offenses. Wants to eliminate crack cocaine distinction that's proven to be extremely racist and targets the African American community specifically. Like wants to require all law enforcement to wear body cams and sponsor legislation to have the federal government pay for it 100%. Every cop in America would have a body cam on. Sports, he supports, and he also co-sponsored a bill with Cory Booker called the Redeem Act that would totally revamp the expungement process for many like low-level violent felonies, just to help expedite the process. So like I feel like he's the wrong dude to be throwing those types of accusations at.
Well, I guess to respond to that, I mean, I definitely don't sit here and have nothing, or am I here to defend Charles Booker against Rand Paul? I don't even know who I'm going to vote for. I know I've never voted for Rand Paul, but at the same time, I've only voted in Kentucky state elections once, I think. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I think that the first distinction that you made of the ad is where I think the divide is, because what he was saying in the ad to me wasn't that he thinks everybody in Kentucky is racist. He was saying that he's made it to a point because it's time to get rid of any of those people if they're around. And I don't think he was necessarily pointing the finger at any individual Kentuckians. But also when you're talking about sentiment and you're talking about like racism and things like that, I think Mike said it one time when we were on here before. Those are the types of things that need to be put up in front of people so that there is no mistaking it. You know what I'm saying? Like if someone comes out and is against lynching, or like they're for lynching, I guess I should say, because saying anti would make, just doesn't work for how we're speaking. But like that person needs to be fucking washed out. You know what I'm saying? And immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and as I think I said to you, the dig at Rand Paul is, to me, less of a pick at his personal character and just a routine political attack that they make at each other all the time. The only difference is Charles Booker's the only person he has ever ran against who can use the black card. You know what I'm saying? No one else could ever do that. So I do think that puts a different element to it, and it also makes it. I sound really laggy. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I hear it, but I messaged. What did she say? We sound good on here, so.
I just lost my train of thought. It's kind of bothering me.
You said Booker was the first one that can.
You can pull the race card, but using the race card usually fucking backfires on you, and this is why. Because whether people want to admit it or not, there are a lot of people out there who may not be racist, but they're prejudiced, or they're not willing to confront racists if they're ever put in front of them. Like, say, you're hanging out with your boys, and your boy drops a racist joke. Most people aren't going to say anything to him to try to rid that. You know what I'm saying? Even if they disagree with it, they'll just go along with it because it's their friend, or they'll just act like it was just a joke. It doesn't matter. And that's not the point. And I think that's one of the points he was trying to make, is that if you're against it, you're against it. You don't need to pick and choose and all that. You just say, hey, I think it's fucking wrong to be a racist or wrong to do lynching. You just go with that.
So, but again, I don't know how that. I get what you're saying, but I don't know how, like, what he was attacking Rand Paul for, when it came to, like, not signing that anti-lynching bill. Like, unfortunately, most legislation isn't cut and dry like that.
I agree with that.
So, like, again, like, when you dig into why he was against it at the time, it was because it was basically going to be, one of the issues was the way they were, when we talk about definitions all the time, the way they were defining, like, lynching was just going to open it up to this crazy, basically make the word not even mean nothing. You know what I mean? And so, like, he was also saying, like, lynching's also, it's already illegal. You know, and so, like, Rand Paul isn't someone who just is, like, going to jump on board with something because it's, like, symbolic and, you know what I mean? Like, he's a very practical legislator.
No, I get that. But I also think there comes a time and a point where you do things because they're right, not because you want to protect some kind of law that you have.
But it may look right on the surface, but, like, you also,
what could not be right about someone not being lynched against their will?
Well, again, what was wrong with that one was that there was more in there than just saying lynching was illegal. And historically and most recently, that's some of the biggest arguments I have against our federal government is, even stuff they try to claim they're doing good, like, to do good, they're adding all kinds of other stuff into this. That's what pork is, that makes it not even about that.
Oh, that's
you know what, like,
politics in general.
Like, in Kentucky legislature, things have to be germane. So, like, they have to pertain. A law can only pertain to one thing, right? Well, like, in the federal government, they'll slap on say this is an anti-lynching bill, but then they'll be like funding legislator pay increases.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no,
so
I understand
there
that.
was a lot of that going on. So like he just someone who wanted to button down the bill, and then he co-sponsored it. You know what I mean? So like,
I understand all that. There's always the foolery, and it's the foolery. It ain't the foolery on one side or the other, and it's all of them just trying to get an agenda across. I'm not gonna lie.
just take your headphones off.
I can't.
Go ahead and press the mute button. Just take the headphones off.
Muted it. Yeah, I can't do that. It's so laggy. It sounds like I'm talking in a fishbowl.
Yeah, but
You can still hear me though?
yeah. So but the main thing I'm saying is, as far as like that one commercial, that one political ad. I mean, if he was hoping to like get some votes from the other side, he did zero. He did zero of that. I mean, like I said, I was on this side of things thinking like, I'm gonna hear him out. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's one of these guys that like thinks the way we think, is trying to like advance society and all that. And he still may be that, but if he is that, then what it showed me is that like the Democratic national apparatus just got their tentacles into him, and like
You really think that? You think that because he wants to make it up front and in everyone's face that racism is not acceptable, that he's just upon a bandwagon?
I just think that that's a point that's already been accepted.
I don't.
I'm not saying we don't have racism in the state. I'm just saying, like, amongst voters, like, maybe I'm having a certain, a visceral reaction because maybe I got some guilt that my, like, ancestors don't slave. But I'll be honest, I don't think they did because we were, like, Cherokee Indian and stuff. So I don't know that anybody in my family did. But, like, let's just say I accept it as a white person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe I'm having a little bit of a negative, visceral reaction to that. But like, let's just be honest about psychology. The minute you make someone feel that way inside, you lose.
That I agree with.
So that's the main thing I'm saying. It's like sometimes it ain't about right or wrong or what should be or what shouldn't be. It's about what is.
True.
And so like, I just think that.
But I also think that you should be made to feel that way. If that's what it takes. If that's what it takes to, I hate to even use this term, but further that simple agenda, then it's necessary.
I mean, maybe there's races, maybe there's like political races. Maybe there are politicians out there that would be an effective message against. I just think, if he'd be running against Mitch McConnell.
I agree with you. I don't think it's effective against.
It may have been more effective against Mitch McConnell, but like I never heard anybody try to like, because Mitch. I'm saying that because Mitch has been in government so long.
Right.
He's kind of like Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer. He's been in there so long. He was actually in government back when, so much stuff was institutionally acceptable.
For sure. 100%.
You know what I mean? It didn't matter if it was legal or illegal. It was acceptable.
Yeah. I think Rand Paul's biggest problem is that for some people on the other side, it's hard for them to disassociate his views from his family and his father and them. You know what I'm saying? Because people get a lot of them confused. And though similar, his are a little more progressive is the term, just because it's not 1965 anymore. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's part of the problem as well.
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't think he's trying. He wants to like dissociate himself with Ron. And I think most people.
That's a lot of the problem.
Most people on the libertarian side, like Ron's like the hero. And I'll be honest, like I don't necessarily know anything of Ron Paul's that I've ever read or listened to and thought that it would be bad for society.
Well, he 100% said he wouldn't support civil rights.
Well, I think what he meant was that
just because you think what he meant, what he said was he wouldn't vote for civil rights.
All right, we'll go back and look at the context of that, and we'll talk on a future one. I know there's nothing about Ron Paul that's saying that he wouldn't support black people having an equal. think here's the issue. To like someone like Rand Paul and someone like me is like, as far as the Constitution and all that, like what the Civil Rights Act did was basically say you gotta follow what the Constitution says, because black people should have had, the Constitution should have been applying to them exactly the way it applied to everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't being. So like, I think in my mind what Civil Rights actually did was just reasserted the idea of all men are created equal, and then like we're not living up to the concepts we tried to put into practice in 1776 or whatever. And it's time for us to. This is our reaffirmation that we're striving to do that. You know, I know it did a lot of other things and attacks and like red line, all that stuff. Fair employment practices, that kind of thing. But any type of not supporting that for him would just be in the sense that it should have already been a thing. And so I'll never argue that the Pauls aren't like they aren't like what's the word here, like very by the book. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's already in, like a lot of times you hear people on the right talking about constitutional rights and all this stuff, and I'm like, I know they're there, we all know they're there, it don't matter, we ain't following them. So we gotta like, sometimes they gotta pass laws to reaffirm something that's already in there to like get over top all that case law that's chipped away at stuff over the last 200 years. You know what I'm saying?
We've talked about it several times.
I'm gonna take mine off too. For me, I think that's the big thing. And so what I disliked about it was just that I felt like I know this when it comes to Rand Paul supporters, I don't know any that I would walk away and say like they are like racist people or for
I don't know any either,
or for like, or like pro lynching or whatever. So again, I just think that the attack was well, it may have spoke to his base and like got people on his base fired up, but like those people, they're already fired up.
Oh, I agree.
For him, it's about getting like people on the other side to vote. People on the other side to vote for you, and to hear like it's like it'd be much like our discussion on abortion today.
Right.
Like if he would have came out and just said like, hey, I listened to last week too much podcast, and I agree there's a difference between abortion and pregnancy, and I don't believe in like abortion at all costs, and we should be trying to like at least preserve the life of a viable child when we can. If he would have come out and said something like that with a noose around his neck, and then went into that afterwards, like maybe could have been effective.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like I think the thing was there was nothing that added told someone that was in the middle, or if it was anywhere in the center or to the right, that made them think like, okay, I'm gonna watch the next ad, and like I'm gonna click on the link and read what he has to say about it.
Oh, none of those things do I think you're wrong about. I guess what I would say is, and this is something that I think most black people would say too, is I'll tell you what I was glad of is to see someone finally with the authority to say something get up and fucking say something, because most of the time they don't. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get the opportunity to have your platform to say what you need to say and what you've always wanted to say, you just fucking bail out and take the high road and keep your fucking mouth shut. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe he wasn't trying to reach across the aisle. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he was literally just trying to affirm to the people who believe in him that he is going to fucking stand on what the fuck he said before. You know what I'm saying? And which, I can't say if it's a good strategy or not. You know what I'm saying? Probably a bad strategy for winning. You know what I'm saying? But winning's not always what people are after either.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
In the game of politics.
Well, in the game of politics, you usually play in the long game.
So here's what I want to meet on this. Like, we'll wait and see what his next ad is. You know what I'm saying? At some point in time, like if you're not trying to grow your voter base,
right?
Then what? Then what are you trying to do? Are you trying to inflame passions and just get people pissed off at each other? The same thing I'm talking about. I'm done with the words critical race theory. We got if somebody agrees with the concept of like digging into curriculum and dealing with some issues, which I am in agreement of. Like we gotta stop using those words are just we can't. They're tainted.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So like, I'm just not one of these. I'm about moving forward with solutions. You know what I'm saying? Like, I also look at the Democratic Party, and I look at. We talked about this before, and I'm kind of going in a different direction here, but I see the Democratic Party trying to act like they're the party of like African Americans, black people, whatever you want to call them, right? Whatever you want to call you guys. Must sound terrible when I say it like that, but you know what I mean.
For sure.
Like I look at our elections here. I feel like a couple years ago when he was running against Amy McGrath and they were running against McConnell. You're talking about I feel like that would have been a much more winnable race because even people in the Conservative Party, like in the Republican Party, are tired of Mitch's stuff.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And so like,
it's just
but he runs against Amy McGrath, so they've got like, why was the Democratic Party behind Charles Booker then? When he could have got up against McConnell and been able to draw the line in the sand much, they could have ran him against someone who had none of the things in his belt that I just called out, right? That said like all these bills that Rand Paul's put forward. Mitch ain't never putting them forward.
That's because Mitch McConnell hasn't done jack
but
shit.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you on that.
They could have supported Booker behind him, and going against him.
But he had zero momentum then. You know what I'm saying? Literally, the only reason that he was even in that race was like the last 2 months of the race. Before that, nobody even knew who he was.
Well, he was like a state rep.
I'm just saying. There's tons of state reps that no one even knows. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's plenty of state reps no one knows.
Yeah, but in
Kentucky,
as far as like his name recognition,
then his name recognition now is there. But then it wasn't, I don't think. I didn't even know who he was until.
A lot of his name recognition now is because of that ad. And I didn't even know County.
Oh, for sure. Well, a lot of his name recognition then came from the hood to the holler thing. I mean, it's easy to build something up, but even easier to knock it all down. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the hood to the holler campaign is what got him even close to Amy McGrath. That he actually went to some of these places where she wasn't going to talk to these people and like actually have a conversation with them. You know what I'm saying? Like what we're always talking about people trying to do. Now, how far has he strayed from that? I can't tell you. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. You know?
So here's what I'm going to say. Here's my Charles Booker, if you're listening to this, I'm going to invite you on here, right?
Sure.
I don't know any other place where you can come on and have a conversation with two people that are more willing to listen, but also going to challenge them. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
I as a voter, that I know a lot of people that are coming to watch this show because of me or whatever are going to be coming from
Rand Paul too.
Are going to be coming from a Republican, background, conservative background, white background, like. I'm going to be fair to you, but I want to know. We're not mentioning things about what Rand Paul's done as far as what bills he's proposed and all this. Like, how is he going to more effectively get those things done than Rand has? And what I want to know what he would do differently than what Rand has done. All right, but I also want to know. I'd like to know where he stands on some issues. I know, like a Kentucky Democrat ain't the same as a California Democrat. So are you going to be willing to vote? To not vote the party line. Rand Paul does not vote the party line all the time. You know what I mean? Like Republicans with big R's by their name, they dislike Rand Paul as much as Democrats do because he doesn't support their big money, big governments. He's trying to build a bunch of stealth fighter jets every day. They cost $1 billion a piece. You know what I mean? They dislike him as much. So I want to open the floor and
I'm open to have. Like the Rand, I mean, I know minimals about him. I know enough not to care. You know what I'm saying? But I'm willing to talk to anybody that wants to talk about it.
Yeah,
you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it.
We definitely love that Rand in there as well. You said. I mean, but again, I think it's important for people like the both of them to come on and talk with people
normally they wouldn't, that we wouldn't talk to. We don't have any kind of history that's going to make them think that we're going to be like attacking them. And neither one of us feel like we're in a position where we have the right to attack them. And we're not trying to like.
I just want to know the truth. I just want to know if what you're saying, if you're standing on it. Because the way I was raised is, if you make a statement and you stand on your statement, you know what I'm saying? Which will probably get us to our next topic right here, which is,
So first of all, going back up. Everybody, start tagging Charles Booker in this ad, tagging Rand Paul, like,
tag them all.
Come on and talk to some real people. You know what I mean? We want to know if y'all can sit down and have a, Booker's talking about hood to the holler.
Yeah.
Ain't no more hood and holler talk than on this show. We're about as real and about as I'm always telling you, I'm a trailer trashy white kid. You know what I mean? And like, come on and talk to us. And like, make me look stupid. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like, things I ask you, things you ask him, things we talk about, it doesn't matter what the elite are going to ask you and talk about, how prepared they're going to be. What matters is what we think.
Right.
We're the everyday dummy.
At least I hope that's what you think, because if you think that what Mitch McConnell or Elizabeth Warren or Nancy Pelosi or I don't even know, Jeb Bush, whoever you want to put out there, if you think that is
what's being talked about,
if you think that is what's going to get you what you're looking for, then I think you've gotten yourself into the wrong business.
And I think you probably would have 10 years ago.
I think you're 100% right about that. And I think it's a new wave now to where people want to take some power back, and rightfully so. We should take some power back.
And I think that's why I'd love to see Charles Booker come on here, because like I'm waiting for that politician. I'm never going to believe in a politician. I'm just not a Star Trek dude. I don't really care if you're an NBA. I'm not going to even be like, ask for autograph. But I'm waiting for guys who want to come on and can talk. Both languages, and this is one reason we're doing the shows, because we feel like there's just so much overlap between like the lower socioeconomic white community and the black community, where we could literally take over the world if we would just like realize how overlapping our ideas are. And
there's way more of us.
Yeah, there's way more of us, and we know we're harder.
Oh, for sure.
Ain't nobody coming and whoop our ass. Nobody.
That's what I was just saying earlier.
So I mean, that's I want Charles Booker to convince me of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I'll be behind him. There is politicians up here that ran for mayor in Louisville's name Chartrell Hall, and like I think he is one of those people. You know what I mean? He's like a conservative guy, but he's a pastor, but he's played like pro ball in Europe and all that stuff. So he's been around the block and walked it and talked it, and from the West End of Louisville, all that. But again, like, come on, talk to us, guys. We'd love to hear what you have to say. To get together, separate.
Either way, I don't care. Video call, don't matter.
So, they'll come back to. We'll segue into the next. So our next topic we're going to talk about, it's obviously been a few weeks now, going back into the school shooting in Uvalde. Man, it's first, like, I can't even imagine. I mean, I'm like over here, I don't know if you heard me snapping my finger a minute ago, lets me snap at my 8-year-old, telling him to quit messing with the cords before he turns the show off up here. But I can't imagine losing one of my kids. Can't imagine, like, being in this real small, tight-knit community where we come from, and like something like that happening, and think about being at East End Elementary or whatever, something like that happening. I mean, talking about bringing the community together, like not. Because where we come from, it's like black kids and white kids are all in school together. All it is public schools in there. Right. So it's like the whole community freaking out. You know what I mean? But like it does bring us back to this gun safety argument. Second Amendment discussions. Tell me real quick on as far as you go. Like, what was your first reaction when you saw what was happening?
Oh, my first reaction to the Uvalde incident is the same. My same reaction. Always, first is just devastating for the families, but I come from a different type of culture. Like, there's a reason that there's a reason that kind of shit doesn't happen in certain places, I feel like. And it ain't necessarily because people got guns. It's because the characters are different. And people take care of themselves. But on the gun control thing, the Uvalde incident, I just don't know, man. It's, I don't know what you do about it. I don't know. I have no idea.
With this is one observation I've seen. I've kind of big into the gun in the school, mass shooting stuff. Like, don't you think it's odd that it seems to be that all that, I won't say all, but the majority of these shootings, it's interesting that it occurs in smaller communities. You know, like Sandy Hook, Uvalde, Columbine. It's not happening. Like people think of Louisville as this like just crime-ridden area, which it is. But like we had 23 guns confiscated on Jefferson County Public School property last year, and none of them resulted in somebody shooting up school. You know what I mean? So like, to me, it's one of those things that really brings home. Like this isn't a when things happen in big cities, we tend to think, well, that's a black issue. Right. I mean, like that ain't what this is.
No.
Like that ain't where it's happening. Like Columbine, you watch those cats are in like black trench coats. I mean, it's like
skinhead. This is not a black issue.
Yeah, but I think people like to think of gun violence as a black issue.
For sure, they definitely do.
You know what I mean? So 100%. It kind of comes back to the Eminem stuff. It's like we was talking about how basically now that stuff's happening in the white neighborhood, now we want to talk about it. Well, it's like school shootings are a perfect representation of that. We talk about the gun violence when it's in school. When it's in school, and you go look at what's happening mostly in. It's like where there's a lot of white kids and stuff. Yeah. You know, so like to me that's interesting. But what do you think? How do you feel about being like smaller communities?
I don't know. It seems to be that the smaller the community, the more isolated.
More trusting it is, maybe, or something.
I don't even know if it's the trust. I think it's the lack thereof, actually. Lacks of opportunity, because most of the time you look at these places, they're places where it ain't like things are popping there. You know what I'm saying? Like ain't like it's usually people.
Oh, so you're saying the reason people are committing.
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about the whole structure of it. So you asked about smaller communities. You know what I'm saying? So I think they're happening in these smaller communities because of these things, and they're happening because there's lacks of opportunities just in general in the area. So people come from lower socioeconomics. But as far as I know, I ain't never seen no rich kids shoot up no school. You know of any like very affluent children who have like committed school shootings? I could be completely wrong about that.
Probably not. One thing I'll say about that is like in 2022, I think we still have this idea of like what poverty looks like, and we think of like depression level poverty. Poverty today doesn't mean you can't get a credit card. What it probably means is that your mom and dad, they got a whole bunch of credit cards. You know what I mean? And they're just so shackled in debt that like you're like middle class. This is why someone like me, I think, I'm open to listen to someone like on a Democratic side of all this, because they say they're for the middle class. The middle class is becoming the bottom of the totem pole.
For sure, I agree with that.
But I definitely think because of that's why I think you're seeing the mental health crisis in areas like that.
I agree.
It's like you have no jobs, no economy.
I think all that plays into what the point you were getting at about it being in smaller communities. I think that's what it is. See, I think the difference is in a larger community, say Chicago, where you deal with those same types of issues as you would have in like a Uvalde, Texas, where the socioeconomic level is probably just a little below median, you know, which is usually how it is. I don't know, people think that like everybody that lives in the projects has like makes $5,000 a year or nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't people like that, but I mean, the majority of people, you know, probably I mean, 20 grand, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah, they're poverty poor, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, if you have your sis or whatever, you're probably pretty eye level with someone who would live in Uvalde, Texas. If you live in the, now, you probably live in a trailer or a small home if you live in Uvalde, Texas versus in Chicago. You don't live in a project building with 1,000 people, you know? So that makes a big difference in it. And then I think it also has to do with the sense of belongment. You know what I mean? Every time you see something like this, you always hear about the kids being isolated and pushed out of their society, being outcast, things like that. You know what I'm saying? And in most of the communities where people associate gun violence and things, which is the black community, low-income housing, places like that, that's not a problem. You know what I'm saying? There's no, like, problems with, like, involvement and things like that. You know what I'm saying? It's 1,000 project kids out here. You have a problem keeping people out of your house, not getting them in your house. You know what I'm saying? You have a problem keeping people out of your yard. 1,000 kids from playing in the yard. You don't have a problem with your kid playing by himself at the playground.
In the inner cities, there's still a drastic lack of opportunity.
For sure.
But in the rural areas, we're talking about
Isolation along with it.
We're talking about like an actual, we're talking about an actual void of opportunity. Probably in the cities, there's little opportunity, but the opportunity that there is involves gun violence.
Right.
I mean, so
yeah.
100%. Drug game or whatever. So that's interesting because it's like we're talking about because of this mental health is resulting from lack of opportunity, isolation, broken homes, poverty. But then the crime, to me, the shootings happening in those areas are because there is a flip side of that. The most opportune environment for those to occur is in these communities where like the teachers that are still like 35 plus years old, probably average 45 plus in schools. They're living in a world where like in Uvalde, they're growing up, or Middlesboro, they're growing up, they can leave the doors unlocked and stuff.
Right.
And so they're not locking down schools, they're not double checking like the windows being locked. You know what I'm saying? So like, because they're still living in another world.
I do not disagree with
and the world
that.
has like evolved and like the world the kids are growing up in, the world that the teachers and administration like grew up in are two totally different things. So we're talking about crimes occurring due to lack of opportunity or the like void of it. There's none.
Right.
Are occurring in these areas because they're the most opportunistic.
I think that's a good point, and I was about to get there myself. That for something like that to happen, there has to be a period of isolation and a void of involvement, because I mean, for the most part, if you're in a group of if you're like involved in a group, there's going to be people in that group that are going to tell you that what you're talking about is insanity. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you don't make it to a point where you strap 2 ARs on your back and walk into a school and just shoot at random people. You know what I'm saying? That 100% comes from not knowing what love feels like and what caring means. You know what I'm saying? You have to be numb to all those, because the thing about it is, the two hardest things about killing a person are going to be getting over pulling the trigger and seeing them fall. You know what I'm saying? All the rest of it's pretty easy. You're talking about pulling the trigger and looking down the scope and all that kind of thing like that. Oh, that's the easy part. You know what I'm saying? Because that's going to become robotic, and or you're just going to black out, close your eyes, not even be looking, all those types of things. So that's the part that needs to be focused on, to me, when you're talking about school shootings and mass shootings and things like that, is when you see a child who is exhibiting isolation. Now, I'm not saying that you should never be by yourself or anything like that. I think you should spend some time reflecting and thought by yourself every single day. But you should always be working. We are social creatures. We need social. We gotta have it. We go crazy without it. I'm no psychologist or psychiatrist, anything like that. But I know for sure they didn't create solitary confinement because people enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like that's, I mean, so for me, those are the types of things I think about when I think about Uvalde. Now, if we want to get to talking about like actual gun violence and the way the laws are being upheld, if there should be more laws and everything like that, I think that's a different topic. But it's going to be pulled into this obviously because it was a shooting.
Yeah.
You know, but to me, when this subject comes up, it's another one of those subjects where people are just screaming from their soapbox on both sides, and no one wants to admit any of the real truths in the room. You know what I'm saying? One being guns here. You know what I'm saying? We know that. That's done. You know what I'm saying? I think we could all. I know people who are way on the left. You know what I'm saying? Who are like, fuck that. You know, guns are here. I need one. I got one.
No, it's actually funny. Like extreme leftist types, like are as pro Second Amendment as like far right people are. Because it's like, how do you lead a revolution without weapons?
Right.
So it's actually, again, we talk about where you find common ground.
For sure.
I mean, like there is actually a common ground there. So one thing I go back to, like the main thing that I didn't expect to happen is we are like. We just admitted it's like we're talking about crimes of opportunity. I'm sorry, crimes due to lack of opportunity, presenting in areas that are presenting the most opportunity. All right, so like most opportunity to actually
get away with it,
violence. You know what I mean? In the places where you have the least options of escaping your mental health issues.
And you're not getting an AR-15 into a Chicago public school, most likely. You know what I'm saying?
So the next step is, to me, is like, one thing I'm trying to get people to realize is this is not just a city, inner city problem.
No.
It is even more so. It's equally a rural problem. So like that's
most of the guns are in the rural.
What I'm trying to get people to realize is like, this is what I'm talking to my people on the right is, let's not turn this into like, well, black people are murdering each other. You know what I mean? It's like, that ain't what we're talking about school shootings. That isn't what it is.
That's not even close.
It's not what it is.
Now, if you want to say mass shootings, which is a different term and defined differently, then which is what a lot of people do when they're trying to make that point. They'll point to the stat of mass shootings.
So I think mass shootings is probably what I'm referring to. If we're looking at individual, like one-on-one shooting where you have a target, it's like, and you were to go and you're extrapolating numbers, then you probably could. You would extrapolate this, and this is like an African American issue.
I think that was what we're, because I think by definition, I think we could look this up, and I should have, and I will definitely get that to you on the next one. I'm pretty sure in mass shootings they count like drive-bys. You know what I'm saying? So like if you're in a drive-by and you go by and you're it's two of you and three of their guys on the corner, and you just spray the corner.
But the FBI also keeps track of school shooting data.
Oh no. That's why I said mass shooting, school shootings.
So we're talking school shootings.
School shootings is not an African.
That's what we're talking about here. And so what I'm saying on the right, they still like maybe meaning well, maybe in certain times like this. We can't even begin with. First thing we have to make sure is not conflate those two things together, because they're not the same. Like we just proved that with the fact talking where these are occurring, who are committing them, who's committing the crimes. You know what I mean? And so like this is an everyone problem.
And for the most part, who's being killed?
Yeah.
Because other than like Buffalo, and I mean more. There's been a few like church shooting and things like that, but for the most part,
That would be racially motivated.
yeah. I mean, but they would still fall into the. Well, I guess not, because those were at school.
Those are
church
mass
and
shootings.
that-
Talking about
that's
school
Buffalo.
shooting.
You're right. You're right.
So but you're right. It's like mostly white. It's like white kids and maybe brown. It's probably white kids and brown kids more than it is black kids. You know
Oh,
what I
for
mean?
sure,
And
100%.
so like it's important to remember that. The second important thing to remember is we've already established this like same thing when it comes to. There's going to be other issues like when you talked about this before, like when we talk about critical race theory, we're not debating whether or not the debate is happening. It's happening.
Oh, for sure.
So we're either going to deal with it, or we're going to let people that we think have bad intentions deal with it. Same thing here, like guns are here. Okay, like to me, me and you disagree on this. Like as far as like when we get down about like talking about guns, we disagree on this topic. But it's like the main thing I come back to is like I come back to the Constitution. Says well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And there's nothing else. So it's saying like every single person has a right to keep and bear arms. It can't be infringed upon. There's just like so if we're being an originalist here, they are saying we should have nuclear weapons. You know what I mean? It's like at that time you could have the exact weaponry that you needed to fight against England. I don't know, they couldn't foresee the type of weapon we have today. But I would argue this. I think that in a situation where you have a power structure where like you have authoritarian government totally imposing their will on the citizenry, that's the only way for citizenry to protect itself is to be able to, and I think it's important for the white community is, we talk about slavery and everything, it was not that daggone long ago where the state literally told you you were 3/4 a person or whatever. You know what I mean? 3/5 a person. Like, if in that moment, if blacks had been well armed, would that have been easy for that to happen, or would it have been easier to revolt? It would have been easier.
It would have definitely been easier. But I mean, it's different when you're brought here without weapons by people with weapons.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So now we live in a country where, as a black man, you can get you can get those weapons. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you could before they made all these laws and things to take those rights from you.
Bingo.
But
and that's another because I'll tell you right now, I'm totally in favor of reforming things to where people aren't losing their right to like right now, if you smoke weed and you go buy a gun, you can't get one without committing a felony. Because they will ask you on the background check, do you use illegal drugs?
Right.
If you say no when you smoke weed, you just committed a felony.
Right.
And so like any given time, if the government decides they want to weaponize that and go and start arresting cats, they could. You know what I mean? So like, or if they're arresting you 17, 18 for possession, now you're a felon, now you can't. It's like you can't vote, can't buy a gun, can't. It's like all kinds of.
Yeah, that's all the.
Totally other topic. The reason I'm bringing those things up is because here in Kentucky, so to me, this brings up the topic of school resource officers, and like this is going to be a huge topic. Legislature, all that going forward.
We just passed a law here in Kentucky that basically says you have to have a school resource officer in every school. Okay. Me and you grew up in schools. We had police in every school. So to us, it's just normal. I think in most rural places, this is just a normal thing.
Right.
Like people don't even think about it, right? Well, like in Louisville, we're having all these issues in our schools, and these terrible instances of like you've already happening, presents the opportunity to revisit those laws and make sure we're locking down school safety, all that stuff. And
here in Louisville, especially, we're not outreach and stuff like this. But like, I've had some rural people say to me, like, well, we like what we got, we don't want to change things or whatever. And I'm like, that's a very scary thing because it's those communities that are saying that this stuff doesn't happen in. When you think like, well, we got no problems like that here. We don't need a full-time cop on premise because we got our stuff on lock. That's probably what you've already taught. You know what I mean? So again, earlier, we're not talking about probabilities.
Right.
We're talking about what?
Right. What's actually?
Talking about consequences.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sure.
Like so if you don't, for not shoring up our schools and keep them safe, it just takes one for something to
I agree 100%. See, I just think it comes down to the simple thing of, and with most things, you know what I'm saying, people are always, it's better to be prepared than to, you know, be unprepared, always. But as far as the school resource officers go, I have no problem with someone having the job of being at the school and serving as a deterrent and a protector of children and faculty and staff. I think every reasonable person should be able to come to that agreement right there.
Yeah.
That it's okay to have someone there who's responsible, man or woman, whatever they are, to protect and to deter any kind of violence or anything that would be coming toward the school. I feel like that's pretty agreeable.
Right now, if everybody's got to run, you got to get to work or whatever, you turn this thing off. It's hearing that. In this setting, let's extrapolate this out in a second. There's 99 other white dudes, 99 other black dudes. Would you argue that like those 200 people, for the most part, after talking, would get to that point?
I do. So as long as you had the conversation.
So again, but in Kentucky, we're still having this conversation like that's a bad. Like that's a bad thing. At least in Louisville, we're having this issue. So that's the next point. I think I know why.
Is it the type of person?
I think it's because in Louisville, all right. So you know, they've never lived. A lot of people never lived places, right? So like we keep passing legislation that's comes as a rose. It's like we're passing legislation for Louisville, and then the loopholes within the legislation are also for Louisville. So like basically it's doing nothing, right? And so like we just pass this law. It basically says they can employ an SRO at every school. They can do it in three ways. They can do it through a contract between local law enforcement and the school district, through a contract secondary employment for an officer between the state police and the school district, or a school can have, or a police department can be created by the local board of education and directly report to them. There's not a rural county in Kentucky that has any interest in creating their own police force.
No.
But in Jefferson County, everything's such a public Democrat. Like Republican people are giving what they see as the enemy the ability to create a freaking Gestapo unit. That like when they it's like the things they don't want to happen, they end up making happen because of the way they enact policy. So put it like this: what they're going to do is they're going to make sure they're going to have a patrolman on like each campus, right? Like what you just said. And what you think needs to be happening in schools is the opposite of having somebody patrolling the area. You know what I mean? Like we're not talking about having police. Like a police in the school. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a difference in a police in like SRO, school resource officer.
Right, should be.
And 5-0. There's difference.
Yeah, there should be a difference.
You know what I mean? And like, and if there ain't, if we're not going to have a difference,
then there's the problem.
I'd rather just run the risk of this stuff happening and like community police it.
Yeah.
Make it to where like you shoot the school, you burn. You might take your own life, but your family's gonna suffer. We're coming for them. We're coming for them to do it. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like individual.
See, that's why that shit doesn't happen in the black community.
I know what I'm saying. There is element of that, and that's why stuff like that. Certain things don't happen in Kentucky. You know what I mean? That Hatfields and McCoy stuff. Like there's something about like civilian justice. Like if we can't do it the right way, I'd rather just resort back to a little bit of anarchy. You know what I mean? Let people handle people stuff and go to school in your community and stop like wanting to bust kids all over the place. You know what I mean? And so,
I think that's speaking of that SRO officer though. So that, like I said, what you said was the right thing. It can't be any old cop. It can't just be Johnny 12 who's been fucking a cop for 10 years who just is just getting a paycheck, you know what I'm saying?
He's lazy.
Yeah, it can't be him.
But it also can't be somebody like fresh out the academy that's like hungry stats.
100%. It can't be that. It's got to be a specific type of person, and it's got to be to me, this has to be a position that is only filled by people who want to do it. It can't be. They can't make so much money that anybody would do it, or so little money that no one would do it. It's gonna be a tough thing. It's gonna be a tough thing to figure out, because that position needs to be someone who is willing to put their life on the line for some people that they don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they also have to be willing to get to know the people that they're going to be protecting, because if they're just there, you're never going to protect anyone that you don't care about. You know what I'm saying? It's just not happening. It ain't human nature. You know what I'm saying? There's very few people, me and myself included, who's just running out here jumping in front of bullets for people that they don't know. You know what I'm saying? It just ain't happening. Now, kids are a little different. I'll probably jump in front of a bullet for any kid.
But again, it's a difference between jumping in front of a bullet once.
Yeah, every day.
As opposed to just choosing it.
And that's your job.
Your career for sure. It's a totally different thing. I totally agree with
It's a
that.
different mindset.
So in Kentucky, we also have I think it's exactly the reason we're having this teacher shortage and how we're having a hard time recruiting, whatever. It's because we're letting society and we're letting the administrations that run these career fields make these careers about money and like benefits and time off. I'm like, I know this ain't sexy, and I know this like takes work. It's like this takes doing this would take coming on a little podcast like ours and getting out like one at a time, changing people's minds. But like these should be career paths of like calling, it's like the feeling, the desire to like contribute and make an impact and like. You know what I'm saying? It's like we need to make these careers financially lucrative for people who want to do them.
For sure.
But like the type of people you're trying to get should be the people that would do it, even if it was still a lower paying job. But since that's their nature. We're going to make sure we don't take advantage of that and start you higher than what you probably would have accepted. And I think there are people out there willing to do that. But we don't present it that way. We want to complain about like how we don't know SROs are bad and they're just going to go beating up black kids. We come in from those two angles and say, okay, look, we got a problem. All right. Let's both admit there's problems from both sides. Like both parties have points on each side of the
Oh, for sure.
But let's admit their issues and let's figure out. Let's sit down as a panel of like
safety shouldn't really be an argument.
But to me, it's sit down as like a citizenry. As a bunch of like informed, well-meaning citizens and say, okay, what should this? What should be a job postings? What kind of criteria are we looking for in people? Right. And then we should be meeting with police chiefs, police officers, whatever I'm saying, like from a financial standpoint, from a benefit standpoint, like what would it need to have to make it where it's also desirable? You know, we have a good balance of like doing this from our calling, but I can also support a family here. You know, we don't want it to be that word financially. Everybody wants to do it, but we're also recruiting like the worst because there's so much money. They just get everybody's going to do it. You know what I mean? We also take advantage of good people in the world that'll do stuff free.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, so let's stop talking about the issues. Like, let's just admit it's issues.
I'll just be honest. I think SROs are a lot. I don't even know if they have these anymore. Do they still have like teachers' aides?
I think they still age, yeah. I mean, they better. In Jefferson County, we have 18,000 employees and 94,000 students.
Okay.
So.
Well, like, I don't even know how it works now, but like back, I remember being like, when I was a kid, some of the teachers' aides were like just volunteers. Like they just came and like just helped out because they wanted to, you know. And then I think they ended up started paying them, you know. But like to me, like those that type of person right there should be like the SRO, because those people are coming in with a genuine desire to serve a purpose for the kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that one sole purpose is to help them grow and nurture. You know. And to be this, I think to be this job right here is going to be 90% that, maybe 95 and like 5% protection. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to go back to what I've talked to you about when we're talking about just normal policing. There's no such thing as community policing anymore. You know what I'm saying? When was the last time you seen a cop on foot walking around a neighborhood? Like, just waving at people, you know, hey, what's up, Charlie? Kids out playing ball and shit on the corner, you know, that kind of stuff. That don't happen. You know what I'm saying? But if it did, I promise you that would go a long way in your community. If ever, I couldn't tell you, not only that, I couldn't tell you the last time, other than the police officers that I grew up with, I couldn't tell you the last time I knew an officer's name.
Well, I swear, I'll talk with Whitney about this. Because she comes from a pretty upper middle class, white collar, town with mostly white people. But she played basketball. She was always running with. It was always like black girls and her age stuff and everything. But like. To them, it's hard to understand. Like when I'm talking about, I'm sympathetic to this idea that cops are treat blacks differently. I don't think they're individually doing it, but the culture of policing is that. We've
for sure.
told them to go. You're basically militarizing yourself to go in these communities and clean it up or whatever. And so like, but to your point, I've been a business owner. And I was like in one of the richest zip codes in the state of Kentucky on a main strip, a highly trafficked area. I never had police walk in and like shake my hand and say, hey, it's myself. You're a new business owner in town. Here's my card. You have anything? I've seen any suspicious activity. Call me. Like none of that happening. Right. So like we've changed the culture of what it means to be a police officer. We don't have any Andy Griffiths anymore.
Yeah, there ain't no servers. There's no services. There's no
server tech. But to me, it's why we call them school resource officers versus school police officers.
I agree.
Because again, like me and the police officer were talking, these SROs that are on schools, like I don't want them to be a disciplinary arm in that school.
I agree.
Like I don't want them. I don't want
should have nothing to do with it.
I don't want them charging crimes and that kind of thing. I want them protecting students and locking down that building.
Yeah.
To protect, when you're in that building, you are protected from outside threats.
Order.
And like if that SRO finds drugs or whatever, like I still want them to be able to be a resource and an advocate for that child in the building, and let police officers charge criminal behavior.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because hopefully that child that's got to 5 to 6th grade or whatever, he gets suspended. Hopefully he's coming back.
Right.
I need him to not have a confrontation relationship with that SRO.
Right.
So it's like I'm not putting SROs in there to protect students. I'm protecting those students from the outside world while they're in that building.
And each other.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, yes, you're protecting them from each other, but you're not like
punishing them for
it. Yeah, it's not. I don't want their job to punish.
I agree 100% with you.
Or police officer, or like police.
Like you said, resource officer. So when you think of resource, I'm talking like a guidance counselor that can handle themselves. You know what I'm saying? If some shit pops off, I ain't, like that's why. I mean, I would think that it may be better to take it to this may be a Republican thing to say, actually.
You just said the most Republican thing ever. Like I'm just like
a private thing.
We might need to pause this and let you find your black card. Drop this somewhere. Drop Republican lines like left and right.
Sure, whatever that means. I'm just telling you that when you're talking about protecting kids in a school, there's no need to be in there like trying to take them to jail and shit. You know what I'm saying? It should literally be someone who is there to be resourceful, someone I can come to and trust in, that I can tell them that someone is fucking like trying to rape a girl in the fucking back, or like, hey man, I heard fucking Timmy, he was talking about he might fucking shoot school up tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? That person needs to be that person. You know who that person used to be in all fucking schools? The janitor. The janitor knew fucking everything. He knew where everybody hung out at, knew where everybody smoked, he knew everybody that fucking was getting booze and who was banging who, because he's always in the hallways, he's always walking around chilling and shit.
Mark Sales from Pineville.
Maybe.
Used to wear all the chains.
Man.
Like that was like gold rings. He just passed away a couple years ago, but he was that everything about everybody.
Because there's no way to make it work if you're not part of it. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why the policing has gone wrong, in my opinion. You're no longer a part of the community. You're against the community is how most people feel. And it ain't just black people. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of white people that are like, I don't fuck with no police.
That's why it's interesting.
And they ain't doing no crimes or nothing.
That's why it's interesting for us to have this conversation, because we come from an area that, like, it seems like we're, we get along with police, but like, we both, I would argue, come from communities, maybe not my mom's side, but like my father's and my stepfather's side, like they're not, they ain't snitching nobody.
He called no
They are
police.
not like cooperate.
No.
You know what I mean? Like they're calling you pigs, calling them all stuff. You know what I mean? So like, it's interesting that so you're right about that.
Because that's not a black and white thing. That's a poor socioeconomical thing and a not part of the community thing. Like you said, it's been taken and turned to something else. You know what I'm saying? Which is why people, I think, who never experienced anything like that for the most part, but people would consider on my side, which would be the left, I guess. I don't really consider myself left or right or central for that fucking matter, but it's gotten so far gone that they are just like, fuck, we just need to scrap it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is wishful thinking at best. You know what I'm saying? It's almost the same thing as saying we got to get rid of all the guns. Ain't happening. How you gonna get them? You know what I'm saying? But redefining it and retuning it, I guess it should be the better word. Retuning it should absolutely be there. I mean, I don't think you would disagree that the way the United States of America is being policed needs to be changed. I don't have the answer to exactly how it's going to be done, but it's definitely not being done correctly.
I 100. We'll make this probably a series. It'll take several.
Yeah, for sure. It'll take it.
But that we are actually going to talk about that. So like, just for the sake of this conversation, so what we are basically agreeing on is like, we need school resource officers in schools. Now at the same time, you and I think would both agree on. We need to. We keep coming back to this. I'm like everything in society right now. It's like we got to define what we mean. We can't let everybody that gets put into any like position of power. It's going to be hiring people to think they make up what it means to be an SRO or teacher or whatever. And so like to me, like we need SROs in every school, but we need to first sit down and say, okay, here's what an SRO, what we expect of them, so the left and the right, neither one can take that and become either authoritarian with the position or like make it something that's not. Because I think it's like
definitely don't need a police force.
Again, so we come back to the Kentucky law. It's like other than a couple cops from the upper administration told me they were okay with this. I've met zero people that say that they want any school system to have their own police department.
It makes no sense.
Police powers, own ability, like levy fees and fines and all stuff. Like schools are there to teach.
For sure.
Right? Like stop talking about. I mean, we talk about school administrators talk about so much more stuff right now. Other than like it's 2 years of being like medical professionals. You know, we got a 28% literacy rate mobile. Like stop talking about COVID and masks and get in there and teach people to read. You know what I mean? But like first of all, I think we agree with that. Like I don't know why we have that in our legislation where they can be directly hired by the Board of Education. I want professionals, trained professionals, and I want them to handle continuing education and training and all that. All right, but there needs to be some kind of division inside the police department where like
you are a contrary to them, but you are not a police officer.
I agree. You should be a civilian dude.
I know you have to be like, you have to have certain certifications and all that.
Like a constable.
Yeah,
like
some, but
obviously they're going. I would like for them all to be able to go to like. I'll say for a while we're not saying we just you. Let's think of $20,000. The $20,000 carrot in front of all teachers and say, listen, we're not expecting a teacher every single school be armed. But like let's say we are having a hiring problem with finding police officers, and we don't really want rookie cops in here anyways. You're a teacher. You already have the skills we're saying that we want. And being able to relate with children and you care about children. So you already have that's the simple thing for me. That you care about the well-being of this child's like lifetime.
Right.
Not today or tomorrow, but their lives. You care about that. So you already have that. All right, like if there's one of you in the school that it's like is familiar with weapons and you think you're responsible to do it, like let's see if we can make that about. Again, it's not going to be one size fit all and a teacher in every school. But like, let's say you need a good.
I like that better than just going out and hiring a bunch of new cops.
Yeah. Like in Dixon, we have 107 schools, right? So we need 167 SROs. There might only be 20 schools that have someone that would be interested in doing that. Well, that at least eliminates 20 schools where for the SROs you can find. Or I'm sorry, like the people from a police background you can find. It's 20 schools you don't have to place them in.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now they should be going and doing the same trainings. If
you're
a cop, like it could be true for retired military, retired officers in middle. Like I've talked to people in rural counties. I know in Bell County being an SRO.
My dad would do it.
Being an SRO in Bell County is one of the most desired like positions in the police department. You know what I'm saying? Like.
Right. And
we all love Pete Gilbert. You know what I mean? Like, I looked at him half cop. You know, it's like, I knew he could, like, blow my brains out if I tried to do something stupid. But I didn't think of him as that first. You know what I mean? He was the offensive line coach. He was, kind of our buddy. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah, that's what I mean.
He always had a gun on his hip. And, like, so subconsciously, I knew, like, I can think he's my friend. But it's just not an equal relationship because old boy's got a gun on his hip right now, and I don't. I got some fists, I got some hands, but dude's he's gonna neutralize the threat much quicker than I'm gonna be able to with my fist. You know what I'm saying? 100%. So, like, that's one big thing is opening up this conversation to that, to where like again they're trying to weaponize it, and like I've already seen the left come out and be like, we don't want teachers out. It's like but I'm also seeing Republicans saying we just need to make teachers better concealed carry, and I'm like, I'm not saying that either. Mm-hmm. I don't just think teachers should be able to come on, just be able to sign something saying, hey, I'm concealed carrying today. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you need to be vetted a little more and go through some centralized training. But I want that training to go through the police department, not through the schools, because the superintendent's never going to know enough about combat and that kind of stuff.
I agree.
And, like, tactics and the de-escalation and, like, that kind of stuff. Like you said, like, but yeah, so we're talking teachers can do it. Retired military can do it. Retired police officers can do it.
I think it should definitely be civilian.
Anyone else that wanted to do it, that's just like just retired or whatever.
Yeah.
You just got to go through the training.
And you got to do the training. I would say like once a year.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't want the school system having their own department because I don't want them dealing with the bureaucracy that's going to come into play of continuing education and keeping up with that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to be able to handle it, and somebody crazy is going to get in there. So, like, so again, like, one thing I wanted to, and we got a whole bunch of other stuff, and I'm probably going to do a solo podcast either later today or tomorrow on some of this other topics. But it's going to come, I want it to come from this, that, like, when you start watching the TV, and you hear the left and right fighting, and you hear the left saying, like, we don't want cops in schools, and they just, like, and then you're hearing the right saying, like, well, we want to arm teachers, not like, just block them out. I just think we need to cut off mainstream media. Stop listening to Fox. Stop listening to CNN. Stop listening to here locally. WDRB, Wave 3, they have no value really anymore. They're just like little snippets of information, and like it's either hit pieces or fluff pieces. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to dig into the details, and places like this is the only place it's gonna happen. You know what I mean? So like, don't listen to what.
if you're watching the news and you're all into what they're saying, you're probably part of the problem. If you're watching the news and you're all against what they're saying, you're probably part of the problem. Because the truth is, nothing they're saying is even relevant.
Right.
Because they're not even having the right conversation about it.
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
saying the right context. So, but it's like, we just came to another agreement, and so Pink's got to get out of here. Guess what? He's a father and got kids to take care of.
True that.
So for all the white people out there that think black people don't take care of their kids, my man is always having to. We have the hardest time scheduling stuff because we both care about our children, and so. But again, talking about breaking down barriers, that is something why people tend to like fall back on thinking that there's zero black men in America that care about their children. That's stupid. All right.
I don't know a single one who doesn't.
And so but we just came to this middle ground. So we came to say on abortion, we think there's under no circumstances should we just be like killing a baby for no reason, right?
For sure.
We just came to this middle ground here on two communities that are supposedly not able to agree. We should have resource officers in every single school, and like we are also agreeing that what that means ain't what anybody else is telling you.
Yeah.
We got to sit down and revisit what that means, and like. You don't need a PhD or a master's degree, or you don't need to be like a sergeant in like military or in the police department. We normal people can figure this out, and like that's how it. I feel like that's how it should.
For sure. If you're not willing to have the conversation, I'll just say shut your mouth.
I know. That's the way I feel about it. But so it's like, again, I'm going to dive into like the specific Kentucky SRO bill here soon. I want to dive into some Jefferson County public school data, stuff like that as well. But like, hopefully on this next one, maybe next time we get together, we can talk a little more about this and like what a resource officer should look like. I'm gonna be working on trying to get some police officers to come on and talk to us. Maybe it's retired police officers or even military or a teacher or something like that.
This was a little funny to me. Just not funny because it's not funny. It's funny because I find it hard to see how people get so far apart on something like this. Like unless you're not for like protecting your kids, like I don't understand like how everybody got so bent out of shape about it. Like, well, yeah, I do. I'm sorry, yes, I do. Language, people, correct your language. Learn how to communicate and speak a little bit to someone, so that when they disagree with you, you can take it on the chin. Because hollering, screaming, yelling back and forth at each other is doing no good for any of us.
Well, I think that's one reason me and you communicate. Even though I talk so fast and everything, I do feel like I'm a good communicator. I love to like write. I know you love to write. You write, you produce music, all that. When people think certain types of way about you, and like white people from where I'm from that look like what I look like, you just assume I'm like white trashy. Like, you don't even have to be from anywhere. If you're black, people are going to feel a certain type of way about you. You know what I mean? So, like, I think we have realized along the way is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if that's right or wrong. It is what it is.
For sure.
So it's on me and on you, like, when we get into a situation to, like, change hearts and minds. You know what I mean? And, like, help, like, maybe the next time that person won't get treated that way because I had the emotional stability to handle it. And the next guy might not. And he might step our people back 10 steps because he does pull a gun out, or he starts getting mouthy and starts the thing is like rednecks are always trying to fight, always trying to fight you in the bar. It's like everybody's all the time trying to mess you in the bar because they know you're gonna fly off the handle, right? And like, so me and you have I think we both just accepted that. Like, I've never heard you blame something on anybody else, even though things could be blamed on other people at times. Like times you've been in trouble, whatever. I've never heard you make an excuse. You know what I mean? Like, I try to be like that. Even though there were valid excuses, there are things that's happened in our lives where, like, if we would have just given up and wanted to, like, complain about it,
nobody would have said shit.
No one would have said nothing about it.
Said shit.
It would have been valid, but guess what? We'd been in the mud. Not that we ain't in the mud right now, but like we still have hope that we're gonna get out of it.
I mean, I think to me that's the difference. The difference in where we're going forward right now. Either we're going forward or we're going backwards. Do you got some hope that shit can be fixed and worked out and we can talk it out and get some shit done? Or are you just like, fuck it all, it doesn't matter? Or are you the person who's like just blow it all up, all that, like those are give up strategies.
Yeah.
Those are strategies to end the fight. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all about ending the fight. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't all about ending the fight if it just means throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't for throwing in the towel. You know what I'm saying? You land a knockout blow, that's something different.
Because there's someone else that ain't throwing in the towel. And
The other person.
To me, I trust me and you to like do the right thing. Sometimes even at the expense of our own success, possibly.
For sure.
More so than I do anyone else. That's like to not take. Well, I'm gonna grab my success over saying the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So
For sure.
Again, if y'all get anything out of this conversation, hopefully out of all of our conversations, we hope y'all realize, like, we're trying to show you that our communities are not that different, and this is what the state of Kentucky looks like.
Right.
The state of Kentucky ain't Rand Paul, it ain't Mitch McConnell, it ain't Daniel Cameron.
Right.
It is John Ross Marcus Cox, and it is John Pinky Rogers. This is what Kentucky looks like.
Exactly.
Good or bad. You know what I mean? All the people that are wealthy in the state, like, I'm sorry, bro. You go to California, if you're white, they think you're me. If you're black, they think they're you. You know what I mean? So, like, we're trying to show everyone that, like, man, if we just talk about this stuff and come together, boy, we could be dangerous, man. We could really make some people uncomfortable and all that. So, so we got to get off here because Pink's got to go take care of his children.
Yep,
If y'all don't mind listening, like, subscribe.
Yeah, check us out. Follow us.
Check
Way
us
too
out
much
on,
everything.
Way too much JRMC, way too much Pink, it's way too much podcast on YouTube. So like, subscribe. If more than anything, man, let's comment on this stuff. We want to know what y'all think about it. Like, say mean things to me. I want you to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I will respond. Constructive criticism to me is like the biggest gift somebody can give you.
Well, we ain't gonna get no better unless y'all critique us. Critique doesn't have to be an insult. All you have to do is just say what's true. If it sounds trash, then call it what it is.
Encouragement to me, like encouragement ain't just positive. You're encouraging someone by engaging with them. You know what I mean?
That's true.
If you're this is why, like, as a football coach, like, I will tell kids when they're doing something wrong, because if I wouldn't be encouraging you if I didn't tell you that, because you couldn't get better.
You wouldn't be doing anything right if you never knew you did.
Exactly. You can't know what you don't know. And for the most of us, like a lot of us, didn't have people in our, like, I didn't have a father around until I was 10, 11 years old, telling, like, showing me the path.
You get a lot of shit from.
You know what I mean? So, like, if we want the normal person to, like, rise up in a country where it's like, what is it, 60% of marriages end in divorce, whatever?
Something
like
that.
So the vast majority of boys are coming from, like, broken homes where their dad isn't it's black, white, Mexican, all that. Like, they're not being shown the path, so we have to collectively do that for one another and have each other's back. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
another topic, but for sure.
You'll do that
about
for
fatherhood.
us. Comment, share it.
Actually,
like, I'm not saying that we are the end all be all and we're gonna have millions of subscribers and all that stuff.
Just want to start the combo.
But somebody, the conversations we're having, like with what we look like, Google it. Go look for black dudes and white dudes talking on the internet, and you will find we're the only people doing it. We just want the best people, the most prepared people, the most, like, engaged and caring people that care about what happens in this country. To, like, we want the cream to rise, and, like, neither one of us are going to tell you that we are for sure that cream, but we think we are.
No, not.
We're willing to do it if that's what
For sure.
is called is asked of us. So thanks a lot for watching. We promise the next one will be here quicker, and we're gonna start getting some individual episodes out. We love you guys. Again, I'm way too much JRMC. Find me on Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff. This is way too much Pink. This is my boy right here. I love him.
Always.